Stand up if you or somebody you know has lost someone close to you due to drugs. Okay, now that everyone is standing, do I have your attention? Good. At least somebody is paying attention. Now, drugs have been a problem in society for many, many years now. I'm aware of them. Cocaine, ecstasy, LSD, heroin, the list goes on and on. But how many of these drugs can you get at your local store? How many of these drugs are being legally sold? Well, let me tell you about one that is. It's called Oxycontin, better known as Oxys, and it has created an epidemic sweeping across our nation, specifically South Florida. Now, these drugs are being sold at these so-called pain management clinics, and they're springing up by the dozens. I personally have lost at least a dozen friends over the past 5 or 6 years to this drug, few of which were childhood friends. Some of the statistics I present to you today will astonish you. Some of the statistics I present to you today will sadden you. And some of the statistics I present to you today will hopefully sadden you. Now, there's been an increase in sales and a synonymous increase in deaths related to Oxycontins over the last few years. As stated in a medical examiner's report from the Florida Department of Law Enforcement, Oxycontin caused 1,185 state deaths in 2009. That's a 26% increase from 2008. And are you ready for this? A 249% increase in just the past 4 years. That's just Florida. If this was a virus, the cause of this, our country would be in a panic and it would be deemed an epidemic. Now, the DEA goes on to show the sale of Oxycontin in 1996 was a modest 25 million, with 100 Oxycontin-related emergency room visits, okay? Well, would you guys like to know what these numbers were in 2004? Try 1.9 billion in sales. Over 15,000 Oxycontin-related emergency room visits. According to a report from the United States General Accounting Office, sales in 2008 totaled 2.5 billion. Am I really the only one that sees a correlation here? So you ask yourself, how could a drug being abused so much have such a rise? Well, in an article from the Washington Post, they explain that Purdue Pharma, who's the maker of Oxycontin, has clearly put profits ahead of public interest. They're promoting the drug aggressively, using means such as celebrity endorsements, which you can see on this slide, swing music CDs, and promotional beach hats. Promotional beach hats? Really? So naturally, there's a rise in the amount of prescriptions being written since 1996. As you can see in the graph provided on the DEA's website, the amount of prescriptions being written were at about 100,000 in 1996. By the year 2000, they had soared to over 6 million. There's obviously not enough control over these privately owned pain management clinics. They're multiplying exponentially. Just take a look at this slide in front of you provided by Google Maps. They're up and down the entire east coast of Florida, as you can see. Now, the Times states that there are more of these pain clinics in Broward County than there are McDonald's restaurants. That's astonishing to me. Now, they not only write the prescriptions, but then they go ahead and fill them. So you walk into the doctor and you walk out with the drugs in your hands. These are legal drug dealers who are fueling this epidemic. And you need little more than a brief consultation with the doctor, and people are walking out with filled prescriptions for hundreds of these deadly pills. The Novus Detox Center claims the DEA does not intend to restrict the legitimate use of Oxycontin, as the federal law and regulations do not attempt to define or set any standards as to what constitutes legitimate medical purpose. Well, maybe these federal laws need to be defined. It's killing thousands and thousands of people. Instead, they rely on the medical community to make these determinations. Clearly, the medical community is failing in this. So apparently the DEA's resolution of relying on the medical community, well, that's a failure too. So do we just stop there? This is where I implore you to take action. Write a letter. Protest. Make a phone call. Be heard and make somebody listen. Now, I don't know these 1,200 people who died from Oxycontins in Florida, but somebody does. These are people's brothers and sisters, sons and daughters, husbands and wives. I do know a couple of them, though. I know John Horton. I know Chris Pearson. While these names may not mean much to you, these were my and my brother's best friends growing up. I have boxes of pictures of us playing football when we're maybe 10 years old. I have videotapes of us sitting around playing cards fighting with each other. And that's all I have left now. So I will leave you with that.